honestly, at the end of this video, you are going to learn how to retouch portrait from beginner to pro using Photoshop. Let's jump right into it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate my layer by pressing Ctrl J, or I can just click on my background layer and just put it on this plus icon like that to duplicate my background layer. I'm going to remove the blemishes from my image, and you can actually remove the blemishes straight right here. But for me personally, I prefer to remove my blemishes using frequency separation. And if you want my frequency separation action, I'll be leaving a link where you can actually download my actions in the description below, and it's for free. Now I'm going to run my frequency separation action. So I'll come to my action right here and just click on frequency separation 16 bits. And for this image, I'm going to be using 6.4 and click on OK. Alright. Now the reason why I use 16 bits is because this image is 16 bits. If your image is 8 bits, just run the 8-bit action right here. Okay. Now to know whether your image is 16 bits or 8 bits, come to your image right here, click on mode, and you're going to see if your image is 16 bits or 8 bits. Now mine is 16 bits, that's why I run the frequency separation of 16 bits. Another question you might have in mind, why did I use 6.4 frequency separation Gaussian blur radius? Now the reason why I use 6.4 frequency separation blur radius is because I don't want my image to be too smooth. I want the image to be smooth. At the same time, I want to retain textures on the image. So what I mean is that if you want your image to be smooth, use a lower frequency separation blur radius. While if you want your image to have texture on your image, use a high frequency separation Gaussian blur radius. I hope you understand that. Now, I'm just going to remove the blemishes for this image. Now, with this my action, if you want to remove blemishes from your image, make sure this first layer right here, which is this high frequency texture copy layer, is selected. Now, pick your close stamp tool. With your close stamp tool selected, make sure you're using a soft round brush. It's very important. Make sure your mood is on normal, opacity set to 100, flow set to 100, align is selected, and current layer is selected. Very important. Now with your high frequency copy layer selected, just increase and decrease your brush size according to the blemishes you want to remove. Alright, so since I want to remove the blemishes right here, I'm just going to reduce my brush size, press alternate on my keyboard, and it's going to show this icon right here. I'm going to click from a close by area to copy a texture from a close by area and just brush over that texture right there. Alternate, press alternate, sample, take your hands off alternate and paint. Press alternate, sample, take your hands off alternate and paint. I'm going to be explaining this in details because it's a beginner to pro retouching tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to sample from here as well and just paint over the blemishes. Also, these blemishes are the lips right here. I'm just going to sample and just paint over it like that. Alright, now for these textures of the nose, I just want to reduce them a little bit. So I'll come to my opacity and just take it down a little bit, let's say 50. And just sample from a close by area and just paint on those textures on the nose right there to just reduce them because I don't want to remove them totally. I know you're wondering why it's 50% opacity for this place right here. Like I explained earlier, I don't actually want to remove the whole texture in that particular place. Okay, I just want to remove it by 50% so that I can still have texture. At the same time, the texture right there is not that obvious like blemishes. Alright, so I'm going to take my opacity back to 100% and just continue removing blemishes from where I want to remove them from. So I guess like this works for me. So I'm going to do this for the whole of the image. Remember, it's very important. It's very, very important. I can't stress this enough. When you are doing this, actually take your time to remove the blemishes. It's the foundation of everything. If you remove your blemishes right, your image is going to be good. So just take your time to remove your blemishes. Don't rush it. Take your time to actually remove your blemishes. Thank you. So I think like this works. There's no other blemishes on this image. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm going to remove this one right here. Now after that, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to smooth the skin using my mixer brush tool. I'm just going to pick my mixer brush. After that, I'll make sure my brush shear layer is selected. Now you can brush directly on the low frequency or you can brush directly on this brush shear layer. The only difference is if you brush directly on the low frequency, if you make any mistake, let's brush right now. Let me just show you. If I just brush right now and I make mistake, so you can see it's not looking good. The before and the after is not looking actually good. So if I want to erase it and I pick my eraser tool and I just try to erase it, you can see it's making the image look bad. It's not going to work. It's not going to look good. So instead, let me just undo that. So for me, I try to brush directly on my brush layer, because if I make any mistake, I can actually erase it. So if I just brush right now, and you can see, I made a mistake. The before and the after is not looking good. I can just pick my eraser tool and actually erase it from that particular place, and it's not going to affect the image, and I can just start from where I stopped like that. Now with my mixer brush tool selected, I'm using a soft round brush, and my clean brush after each stroke is selected. My weight is on 30, my load is on 20, my mix is set to 0. It doesn't really matter because this place right here is empty. My flow is on 30, and sample or layer is checked because I'm working directly on an empty layer. That's why sample or layer is selected. Alright, now to brush, I'm just going to click on this my high texture layer right here. I'm going to hide it. Click on my brush layer again. Once my brush layer is selected, I'm just going to increase and decrease my brush size with my square bracket key according to the part of the image I'm actually going to be brushing on. So I want to brush on this highlight right here on the forehead. I'm just going to reduce my brush size and just paint on the highlight on the forehead, and also increase my brush size and paint on this part right here. Is looking big, and decrease my brush size and brush on this part right here. Okay, so just remember to brush your shadow separately, your highlight separately, and increase and decrease your brush size according to the parts of the image you are actually working on. So I'm going to take my brush size down, the highlight on the nose, and just paint on it like this. Now you can check your before and after to see the progress you're making. So these are before and these are after. Before and after. You can see the image is looking smooth, but we still have the textures on the image. That's all that matters to me. I like textures on my image. So I'm going to do the same thing for the body. Just going to brush right here. Alright, so let's see. So this is the before and the after. The before and the after. Now I like the way the skin is looking because I'm still seeing the texture. But if you want yours to be smoother, just use a lower frequency elevation blur radius. For this image, I use 6.4. You can use 5 for this kind of image. It's going to look good and smooth. But I like mine like this. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to group this brush layer and my low frequency layer together and apply portraiture to make the skin look more smoother. So after I select both layer, my brush layer and my low frequency layer, I'm going to press on Ctrl E to merge them, and just come to my filter and go to my Imagonic and just click on portraiture right here and click on OK. So let's just see our frequency separation. So this is the before frequency separation and after frequency separation. Now before I start color grading this image, I'm just going to make the eyes white a little bit. So you can see it's looking kind of reddish. So I'm just going to make it white. I go to my action again and just click on eyes and teeth whitening. Now I'm giving out these my actions for free. Just check the link in the description below to download my actions for free. And also I offer retouching services. So as a photographer, you're looking for someone to help you retouch your image to save you a lot of time and deliver your pictures faster. I'm available. Just send me a DM on Instagram or email. I'm going to get back to you. Now after running my eyes and teeth whitening action, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I just pick my normal brush tool. Just take my opacity to 100, flow 100, and just paint on only the white part of the eyes like this with my white brush selected. So make sure your foreground color is set to white and just paint on the eyes like this. And if you feel you make any mistake, you can just pick your eraser tool and just remove it from where you feel there is a mistake like that. Okay. Now next I'm going to do, I'm going to click on my properties and just feather it a little bit, and also reduce the opacity a little bit like this to make it look natural, because I like my image look as natural as possible. And after that, I'm going to come to my adjustment right here. If you can't find your adjustment up here, just click on your windows and click on adjustment, and it's going to open. I click on my curves adjustment layer and just take it up like this. Once I take it up like this, I'm going to invert it by pressing on Ctrl I to invert, and just paint on the eyes just to make the eyes a little bit brighter like this. But right now I feel it's looking too much, so I'm going to take the opacity down a little bit like this. Let's say 25 or 20 works for me. Okay, 18. So the before and the after. I just add the little brightness to the eyes like so. Now it's time to actually color grade this image. Now to color grade my image, I'm going to be using camera raw. So I'm going to press on Ctrl Shift Alternate E to create a stamp visible layer, which is everything below this layer right here is going to open inside this new layer right here. So I'm just going to go to my filter and open camera filter like that. So once my camera filter open, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my calibration down here, and I'm just going to take it up to about 40 or 50. So 50 works for me. Let's use 50. Okay, so the before and the after. If you notice, it's now looking a little bit kind of orange or yellow or reddish. So to fix that, I'll come to my color mixer right here and just come to my saturation and just take the saturation of the oranges down a little bit like this. Okay, now let's see the before and after. So this is the before and this is the after. And because this image is for a client, it's not my personal project, you have to make sure to make the skin tone of the clients look as natural as possible. So don't do anything fancy if you're retouching for a client, except the client wants it like that. But just try as much as possible to make the skin tone look as natural as can be. So I just add a little of punch to the skin tone just to make it a little bit punchier, but it's looking as natural as it is. So this is the before and this is the after. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on OK. Once I click on OK, so this is before our camera, after our camera. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'll come to my adjustment layer again and just click on color balance and come to my shadows and just add a little bit of blues to the shadow, just a little bit like this to the shadow area. +2 works for me. Now come to my adjustment again and click on levels adjustment layer, and this time I want to add contrast to the image. Now I'm just going to move the shadow area inside a little bit like this. So let's say +8, and for the highlights, I'm going to take the highlights inside a little bit like this. Okay, so the before and the after. So we added contrast to this image. Now let me just group everything I did so you can see our color grading. So this is the before and this is the after, the before and the after. Just a subtle difference, but you can see it makes a whole lot of difference, the before and after. The image is still looking natural and the client is really going to like the colors I'm getting for this image. Now it's time to actually save your image. Now this is how I save my image. After finishing everything, I'm just going to click on File, click on Export, click for Save for Web Legacy. And now make sure Progressive is selected, Enable Color Profile is selected, and you can use the quality of 70 to 80. But I prefer to use 75 because I don't want the megabyte right here to be too big. So 75 works for me. So I'm going to click on Save, and this image is just going to save to my laptop. So if you want to learn high-end skill retouching using Photoshop, click on this video show right here. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay creative.